Had to do something else too.
Hey, we back, man. We back. We back. All right. Um, yeah, we don't have work tomorrow, so we gotta sip a little bit. I got some tequila. I don't know what he got. What you got?
I got some Zach, I forgot what it's called.
Oh, but anyway, it's the Culture Book Club. Uh, Steve and Steve.
And Steve.
All right. So go ahead and do your little intro spiel, like you wanted to say.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I thank everybody that tuned in, watched the videos and took out the time of your day to watch our stuff. We all know time ain't free, as we gonna talk about with this movie Time.
Yep. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Your listeners that's on Amazon Music, Spotify, whatever platform you're using. We appreciate you taking some time out your day to hear our voice. Um, I'll be honest, I don't even like hearing my own voice. Some people don't like hearing their own voice. I don't like hearing mine, but pretty weird me doing a podcast and not listening and liking my voice. Hey, so y'all.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. At the end of the episode, we're gonna let y'all know uh what we're gonna be doing with our next episode. But yeah, man. But without further ado, we about to get into this good old movie time. So for the people who've not seen this movie, it's called Time with Justin Timberlake, starring Justin Timberlake. You remember what the girl name is? I don't remember her name.
No, I ain't remember her
I can't
name either.
remember her name. I'm sorry. She's a great actor. Wasn't she the same girl that was in Amazing Spider-Man? With the big eyes? Oh no, I don't remember her name. But she's a great actor. Anyway, I just said that because we are about to spoil this movie for you if you haven't seen it. So
Yeah, her name.
I'm sorry that if you haven't seen it, and if we do not spoil it for you, and no, it ain't no way we can not spoil it. We about to spoil it for you, but you might want to go watch it after we start hitting our points. My guy, I'm gonna give a shout out to my guy, Chad. He's a hater because he said the movie sucks, but the movie's fire. I don't know what he's talking about.
Amanda's her name, by the way.
Man, see whatever. But go ahead and explain the movie, man.
Oh yeah, man. So the movie start off Justin Timberlake. He lives in what we perceive would be the ghetto. They have different sectors of depending on your status of time, depending on your status of time. So if you at the age of 25 they stop aging, but they're left with a year left on the clock. So they're working and kind of like just like the real world, how we working to pay our bills. They're working to pay their bills and they're working to live. If they run out of time, they they gone, they dead. So
Time is currency. You forgot that
time
part.
is currency. Time is currency. So him and his mom are struggling. His mom was around 50. This was his 28th, I believe, and they both struggling for time and everything. And his mom is really running low on time. So what happens in the middle of the movie, I don't want to, spend too much time telling the movie. Happens in the middle of the movie is Justin Timberlake comes across a century from a guy that's lived that life, nothing but that life, and was just tired of it. He was like 104 and he was just tired of living. So he gave him a century and committed suicide, which then led Justin Timberlake to the actress Amanda, and eventually it turned to a robbery of time. They just robbed the banks of time and started passing it out to all the needy folks.
Yeah, it's like some Robin Hood type shit.
Yeah,
I guess we got.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of good points we could take from this movie. And like I said, we use in this movie they use currency. I mean time as their currency. So I would like to say when it comes to the thing, think about the things that you spend your money on all the time. If
Clubs, useless
if
things.
yeah, yeah, if you had to use your life expectancy, your time in order to do those things, how more considerate would you be? How smart would you be with your decision making then? Like, cause I know a lot of people that struggle with being financially smart. I guess it's not the term I wanted to use, but uh making the right decisions when it comes to buying things and spending money and
Having a budget.
living a life that they shouldn't be living because they going over their means. So that means like if you were to be in a different type of alternate universe, like where you're using time instead, yeah, you probably wouldn't be here anymore because the way you be using it.
Right.
So
You
yeah, that
physically, you won't physically be here no more.
yeah, because once that clock run out, you just automatically you just drop. You just drop
Yeah.
in the street wherever you at. That time is up. So yeah, think about that. It just shows that it's important to pay attention to what you're doing with your bread. You know, just make smart
I
decisions.
mean, and that's like real life, man. But we don't use time as currency, but hey, time is kind of currency, right? You know, if something's free, it really ain't free
Yeah,
because you spending your time on that thing, you know,
yeah,
whether it be learning something or whatever it is you do. You know, time ain't free at all. Uh, well, I'm sorry, nothing's free at all because you're paying for it with your time. And I mean, that's kind of what that's all this movie did is make it an actual thing, make it that they're actually paying
yeah.
paying for life with their
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like when it comes to he's saying like time, you know, time is money, money is time. It's like for my people that's working a normal 9 to 5, you know, it's not technically always gonna be a 9 to 5, but you know what I'm saying as far as a regular job to where you spending a lot of hours trading your hours for money, you know. So
Mhm.
is do you actually feel like it's worth it, you know? That's the thing that you need to look into is like is this worth it? Like, am I doing enough to live? Is this a fulfilling life? Like,
Yeah.
am I just doing like a? Is this a cycle for me? Am I going to work just to work, do that, whatever they tell me to do for this many odd hours, come home, eat, then it's time to go to sleep, and then do it all over again. To
And at
me,
the end of
that's
the
not a
month, you still
fulfilling life.
barely making it.
That's not fun to me. I
Right.
we like I always like to say I'm here for a good time and a long time. So I feel like if you was just here and you just working, working, and working, and come home and I guess you could say you indulge a little bit on the weekend. It's not fun because you still giving more of your time to a job. You know what I'm saying? That company is making way more off of you and gaining more from you than you are of yourself. You know, you got to
Hmm.
put back into yourself and know what's important is you, your mindset and things that you
Yeah.
want to do in life. Make sure you're doing things that's gonna make you happy because some people don't care.
Yeah. I mean, and we, you know, a lot of people that wants to, you know, become wealthy, uh, most people, oh, I can't say most, but I know at least some people want it because you know money don't buy you happiness, but you know it gives you a little bit more time to focus on things that could bring you happiness. And it's kind of like in the movie, man, the more time they had, the more time they had to focus on things that could make them happy because they wasn't worried about bills every day. um if they had a century or more, you know, they was
Yeah,
considered rich. They was considered high class with a century. You
yeah,
know, that's kind of like us having millions. You know,
yeah. Yeah, and another thing I like to hit on when it comes to this time is like it put things in perspective. Like watching this movie is like we need to value our time a lot better. When you once you have a setting like that, when you know you're using just your time, you know you got time to pay for everything, and everything is basically based on time. Like you will be more considerate when it comes to time. You won't be willing to waste it on things that you wasted on now, you know, social media or anything that's not really important. So it's like it just shows you watching that movie now in this day and age, it just shows you how much we don't really value the time, you know, because tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh like my like my idol say, Kobe beating Bryant, he's like, I forgot the exact quote, but it was around the lines of man, the biggest mistake we make is thinking that we have time. You know, tomorrow is not promised. We don't know what's gonna happen. So you gotta be grateful and do things like, man, don't be sitting here and waiting to think and everything is gonna be waiting on for things to be perfect. Like we were saying on the other episodes, we were talking about the book. You can't wait for the perfect moment to do anything. You just gotta continue to go and grind and strive for greatness, you know. Tomorrow's
yeah.
not promised, you
But yeah, man, even in the movie, even the little girl was paying. I mean, she was hustling, bro,
know. Yeah.
hustling, and she talking about, come on, I got bills to pay,
Yeah.
and she only like 10. Her time really don't start until she 25. So your time don't come on your wrist until you're 25. Hey man,
Yeah.
how many people you think you know who just drop, just drop because they can't handle it. They don't know how to. Was it like when he gave old boy that would he give him a decade and he drank
Yeah.
his life away? He drank 9 years.
Yeah. No. This she get he gave that man a decade. He said, how long we been friends? I'm telling the hell out of this movie, but how long we been friends? 10 years. He gave that man 10 years. That man died that
He drank
day
nine
because he
years.
drank himself to death. No, he ain't even drink 9 years. He couldn't drink 9 years. He was one. She said, because she was like,
Oh, he had
he
nine
drunk
years left
himself
on
to
his
death. He
clock.
still had 9 years left on his clock. Like they
Uh,
couldn't, like that was 9 years wasted because they couldn't even get that 9 years from him now that he was gone.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah. So if you drop dead of any type of natural causes or
that yeah, gone.
unnatural causes, your time gone.
And
Your
yeah,
time gone.
and that just brings us to another point in this movie is like you have a chance of being immortal because you know with the way that it works, it's all about the time and the clock and everything, but you still can die from like violent things, of course. If you shot, stabbed,
Accident.
yeah, car wreck, some type of anything like that, bleeding out to where you know what I'm saying, you getting hurt, injured, blunt trauma or anything like that.
Yep, still got
So
sick.
so there's another thing is like, is it really that important? Because as far as the way you would have to live your life, like you would have to be cautious 24/7 and in order to stay, and that's how they was in their other what was that, the other zone
The other zone was on
12.
zone four.
I was on for it. So yeah, they was always like cautious bodyguards. They didn't even know how to drive. It was just like they was always playing it safe in them. Basically, like that girl. That's how she was like, what kind of life is this anyway? Like,
Right. Yeah.
it
That's
was
what
just
attracted her to Justin Timberlake because
yeah,
she can tell that he wasn't from there. She can tell that he wasn't of a wealthy, coming from a wealthy family or never had wealth. And he's walking
hmm
around with all this because and it started with him running at a scene and she was at a car and she seen him running. Don't
oh
nobody run out there in that
yeah,
sector.
she seen him moving
Ain't nobody
fast.
rushing.
It was
They
like
got
he was moving faster than everybody else.
they got 10,000 years. He ate faster than everybody. They not
hmm
rushing. You know what I'm saying? He used to having a day, so he having to rush to do everything, running here, running there, swallow. Not even taking time to taste his food, just inhaling it. So she noticed that.
Yeah, and yeah, they just put a different aspect of thing. You know, you look at it differently when you watching and it's like he eating fast, and it's like, hey, you like, you're not from around here, are you? It's like, no. He's like, yeah, because everybody usually takes it a lot slower than. He's like, oh yeah, that makes sense basically because everybody are they all got their time on them.
They got the
And
time to enjoy.
he used to you know what I'm saying, moving fast, getting on to the next thing and that he needs to do because that time is important to
Right,
him. Time was important. Every minute was important to
right.
make sure he was able to get to where he needed to go and get the food that he needed to in order to make sure him and his mom's was okay.
You know, one of the major differences, which is kind of, everything we go through, and that I wanted to point out too is how he valued time, you know what I mean, versus those who grew up in that life or who never knew what it was to not have or to be without. They didn't value, they didn't appreciate it, you know. Yeah, they took their time with everything, but it wasn't for the simple fact that they have it, that they could appreciate it. It was just that that's what they was used to. Whereas, he came out of the woodworks coming from the ghetto, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you can tell the difference of when he was left with like 30 minutes versus when a girl was left with like 2 days or something. He calm, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you can do a lot. And one of
Mm-hmm.
his sayings was, "You can do a lot in 24 hours." And I remember that ever since I watched this movie when I was 12, 11 or 12, however old I was when I watched this movie. And that every time I think about doing something and I say, oh, I probably won't have time, that quote always comes in my mind. You can do a lot in 24 hours
You can't.
because you can do a lot in 24 hours if you utilize the time correctly. And by utilizing the time, bro, it aligns with the book we read. You know
It
what I mean?
lines back to the last episode when we talking about organization. You organize your day and your life right.
The
You
power
have
of
more
discipline.
time. You have more time.
Yeah, you're gonna have
And
more time if you can do a lot in 24 hours.
yep. Yep. And another thing he said that I like was like, he said it's nobody's fault what they're born with. So because basically she's born with a silver spoon and she didn't know any better until he
Right,
showed her. And because she was like, "You're mad at me," and he's like, "Nah, it ain't nobody's fault. It ain't your fault that you was born like that. You was born into that. But
right.
that can be changed, just like any of us, coming from coming from the bottom, coming from wherever you come from, you don't always got to stick in that, stay in that stigma or that wherever you come from, that pain or wherever it is you go through, you can always come up out of there, trauma, all of that. You just gotta you just gotta try your best. Not try your best, you just gotta actually work at it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you gotta
Work at
actually
it
do it.
and you gotta get up out of there because you can be born and stuck in a situation that you have no control over. Remember, it's not your problem. It's not your fault that it happened to you that way. It's not your fault that you grew up like this. You can't control that environment that you grew up in. The only thing you can control is when you are an adult and what you're going to do about it after that. Or what you're going to do to better yourself. All right. This is what I dealt with growing up. So, this is what I'm going to do to fix it or try to get a better mindset or a better understanding of my emotions and the things that I've been through to better my future for myself. And
Yeah.
I can only say that's like the path that I've been on over the last year, going to therapy and stuff like that. I love therapy. I promise, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I just learned so much about myself during that process. It's like that I ain't even know that I was dealing with. Just going through and just learning more about yourself when it comes to what your triggers are and why you make the decisions that you make and how you continue to, if you ever feel like you're in the same cycle, like how do I keep making these same situations, how do I keep ending up in these same problems, how do I keep ending up in these same relationships and all this stuff. Just know that you have something that you need to deal with and you're going to continue to stay in those cycles and those revolving doors until you deal with what it is you need to deal with, because you haven't faced it, and you don't know what it is. So you got to try to get with someone, or you got to learn yourself, because if you don't face those traumas, they're gonna continue to be there, and you're gonna continue stay in that cycle, and it's not fun. You don't want to stay in that blending.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other things that it was kind of funny to me too that when he had went to uh Amanda's house, her name was Sylvia in there, I believe. We had went to Sylvia's house and they had a party and he had took it back in her backyard and everything. He's about to jump in the ocean. She's like, "You crazy? You crazy gonna jump in there?" He was like, "Oh, you mean to tell me that you got this in your backyard? You never stepped foot in? I'm the crazy one?" Like, man, like that's true though. Like, how you gonna have something like this in your backyard? You got a whole beach in your backyard and you never used it. You never use it. It's just for show. And that comes with appreciation, man. They didn't even appreciate the fact that they had that they was able to afford that because they didn't even understand what it was like not to have to, not to be able to afford that, let alone be able to afford to live another day. Especially being able to afford an ocean in your backyard. These people fighting to live on a daily basis. They waking up with 18 hours on their clock, trying to
Yeah,
hustle for the next 2 days.
yeah,
Sit on there
that's
just drop dead.
yeah, and that just goes into you know, getting to know different people, different experiences, being different backgrounds, because they was able to both of them was able to see two different sides. You're like, what? Like, okay, you too scared to do this because you think you're gonna get hurt, and she like, you're not afraid, and he's like no, it's just like it's like a perfect. I guess you say it was like I know a perfect balance right there. It was a tug of war right there, and they was able to make it go.
Mhm. When they ended it, I always thought they was gonna make a time two, but
Yeah,
it never came. It never came. I was like, man, it's gonna be a time two. It's gonna be a time two. Nah, never came because they ended it with them, robbing the bank. But I would kind of like to see what had happened when everybody do get all that time. How, the checks and balances that the government had to kind of keep the wealthy wealthy and to keep the poor poor. Like, how would that topple? What would that do to their system, to their society? What would happen?
yeah,
Is time would time just be something kind of like money to us? We can print it. Could they just make up more time? Or like how they like what happened? Like I was very curious on that.
yeah. What do you think about that line when he was like, "Is it stealing if it was already stolen?" Like, do
Yeah, how
you
am I
really
still if it
consider
was
it stealing?
already stolen?
I
I mean, yeah,
like,
cause
oh, that's deep. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
can you consider something stealing from somebody they stole it, and they get it stolen from them? Like, dang,
right,
how could you feel bad for that person? Like, the only
true.
person you can feel bad from is the people that was taken from the beginning, the innocent person, because
Hmm.
you stealing from a thief. That thief ain't innocent. So
Right.
you was wrong about this. The way you went about it.
Hmm.
That's how you
And he was
accumulated.
talking about big corporations, right?
Yeah, yeah, about them the way they did that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that was one of the biggest things that that related to our real life though. Like uh, he was talking about, man, there's mass murder every day in our sector, which I believe was Sector 12. And you worried about why some old man gave me his time and committed suicide? And then the
Mm-hmm.
guy he explained to him, he like, yeah, man, I'm here to protect time. Everything else is irrelevant. It's kind of like our cops, man. They're not really here to protect us. They're here to protect property. They're here to
Mm-hmm.
protect the investments of that state, of that city. That comes first before protecting people. That's why they show up after you call during a emergency. They're there for the cleanup, basically, make sure. everything was cool with the property.
Yeah, that guy, he wasn't really for the people. He was all about the principle of what he stood for rather than actually
What his
keeping the money.
organization stood for.
Yeah,
What his organization, the timekeepers. They only really cared about time.
yeah.
You know,
He only cared about the I guess you could say the structure of the way of that world that he grew up in. That's what he cared about, the structure staying the same and not getting altered. He was like somebody's got to do it. You know,
you're
so
right. I mean, and
I gotta make sure.
honestly, I think he was just putting on that role. I don't think he didn't really care about he didn't really care about it. He just didn't like old boy's father, so he was kind of taking it out on him too. But they was
He
still they put
no,
it.
it was just some stuff that he ain't deal with internally. Remember, because he's like, you from here, like you grew up here,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, yeah. And I'm trying to make sure nobody else make it out. Type like what? Like
Right,
dang, you want to be the only person to make it out the hood? It's
right.
crazy. And another thing I was thinking about, like I feel like like with the bus scene with his mama and all that, I was like, I feel like people would be that cold. Like
Oh
this
yeah,
if it's like if a woman needed 20 more minutes, 30 more minutes to make it home, and you got 20 people on the bus, everybody just gonna look away because they don't wanna they wanna have to help. They worry
right.
about themselves. Everybody's so selfish these days, and they worry about themselves getting home. When all of those, I feel like everybody can just give at least 5 minutes, and this lady get home and make it to her son, who has enough time for them to make it through the next day. But
Hmm.
everybody's so selfishly worried about themselves. I'm talking about people, dude running from her, ran into his house like, "Hey man, you could have gave the lady. If you could have gave that lady 1 minute, she would have made it." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's just crazy how selfish people can be. And it just and
Hmm.
it just and it just I just really believe it would be like that. I feel like it would relate to the real world, that movie, with when it comes to greed. Like I can see that hierarchy, and it's like it is already right now. I feel like there's enough land and resources for everyone to live a decent life right now. I feel like there's enough land, resources, and animals to make it happen, but it's too much greed in order to make that shit. I mean, make sure to stay that way. Everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
somebody has to have more. Like, do you really need to spend this money on designer and all this extra junk that we don't really need? Private jets, all this stuff like that, all this unnecessary stuff. Like, what Pac say? They make they spend money for millions, fight the war, but can't feed the poor. Yeah,
Oh
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Oh, I'm mad they didn't touch on war on in that movie. I wonder how that would have went. Like how they would have handled time.
Hey, it was all about the wealthy in that movie.
Hmm. All about the wealthy. Man, those people are so spoiled with 10,000 years on their clock.
Yeah.
Ain't got to worry about a thing. They look 25 forever. At least Botox and all those augmentations. Well, I guess just because you're 25 doesn't mean that you have the best
Mm.
um the body and features. So I guess that did come. But
Oh, yeah, that all goes to genes. You're either blessed or you're not. Yeah, and also, and before we forget, the next book we're gonna do is "I Got You" by Rob Hill Sr. So it's time for us to get into relationships. This is gonna be another fun one. We probably gonna get some women in here so we can have a men and women conversation about this topic. It's gonna be a good one.
yeah, yeah. But without further ado, can't wait to see you all on the next episode with your suggestions, with your feedback. Um, hopefully, like I said, you guys got some good books in there. I really am excited and stoked on the books. Those things they really get you thinking, really get your mind sparking.
Yeah, yeah. Also, go ahead and throw in a couple of wine suggestions for your boy. You know, sip a little wine while I read my book or watch my movie. You know, preferably the ones that don't leave me with a headache. You know, I don't really get headaches when it comes to drinking, really, but some of those wines do be a
The
little
dry ones,
weird.
the really dry ones, man, they'll lead you to a headache for
Yeah.
real.
So yeah, I'm in the market. You know, I'm looking for the good stuff, some good wine. So let me know.
Could we get to the good part?
But yeah, like you said, without further ado, man, we out. This concludes another episode of the Culture Book Club. I was about to say the Breakfast Club.
Peace.